I wanted to talk just for a second about what Kirk Herbstreit said about Georgia's tight ends. Here's the direct quote. He said, he says he's talking about Georgia. He says, they are tough to get ready for because of the tight ends. Well, we saw just how tough they are to get ready for when Brock Bowers absolutely slaughters the chickens over there in Columbia. And he had a heck of a game, being named SEC Player of the Week this week for his performance. And you know what Kirk was talking about. This was in the Orange Bowl that he said this. This was during one of the Orange Bowl, during the telecast of the Orange Bowl. He was talking about how challenging it is to deal with them, and that doesn't even include Delp. And obviously, there's been some right now. Eric Gilbert is day to day, but this was Brock Bowers' fifth 100-yard receiving game. He's only been at Georgia for 18 games. I mean, that's nuts. Here's from the release. He said this is Bowers posted his fifth 100-yard receiving game of his career and scored 3 touchdowns in a game for the second for the second time in a 48-7 rout at South Carolina. He had a team high 5 receptions for 121 yards and 2 scores, including a 78-yard touchdown that put Georgia up 31-0 in the third quarter. The release goes on to say Bowers had a 5-yard rushing score for the game's first points in the opening period. This marked the second time in his career that he had tallied 2 receiving touchdowns and 1 rushing in the same game. That was the Vanderbilt game in 2001. That was the game that I was pretty sure Georgia was the best team in the country. Uh, the South Carolina game for me, just me, um, was notice to the rest of the country if the Oregon game wasn't, that Georgia's going to be a real problem. And part of the problem, not the whole problem, is that these tight ends are nothing but trouble. You cannot, it is very hard to deal with them. I mean, we're out here watching this game, and we got Kenny McIntosh come flying around. And so everybody's concerned about him. And he just pitches the ball to Bowers, who is going the other way. And you know who knew he was going the other way? The guy that was guarding Bowers. And he was the only one because McIntosh was the total eye candy that was going to fake out Carolina in the end zone by their student section. Now, listen, I'm not here to run down the chickens. They did all they could do. They tried very hard. That is extremely disheartening. Running the ball right down someone's throat, not running, but getting it down the field and then running it in like that, and all that towel waving just goes away, and it just never came back. And that place can be a snake pit, can be, but it's not when you got guys that are just running all over the other team, and that's what you saw the other day. And on Saturday, the major reason was one of the major reasons was Brock Bowers. The other major reason was South Carolina couldn't get a first down. So when I was talking earlier this summer. I guess it's still the summer to Aaron Murray, and I asked him just straight. I was like, do you how much do you think it actually really matters that they've got these multiple tight ends that are a problem? And he said it makes a huge difference because you can go out there, and they've not done this a lot that I've seen. He was saying you can go out there with 3 tight ends. And in the scenario where you've got 3 tight ends, the defense literally does not necessarily, they cannot defend it. And they can defend it, but if you want to run, you can run because you can put those 3 tight ends on the field and the defense can say, okay, well, we're going to go big now. And Georgia can say, okay, that's fine. Well, you brought in the equivalent of Julian Rochester and Jordan Davis. Well, now we're going to flex those guys out, and you're gonna be out there with too many big men on the field, and we're just gonna throw. If they don't do that, if they go into some sort of nickel or dime or some sort of thing that's heavily predicated on the secondary, Georgia's gonna say, okay, well, we're just gonna line up and run. I gotta tell you, if it were me, I would get out there in secondary stuff all the time because Georgia is way more lethal, it seems like, these days passing the ball. But that's easier said than done, too. I mean, they still were running for like 6 yards a clip or whatever it was the other day. It is a problem. It's a problem Todd Hartley's mustache is a problem, if we're just being honest, right? I mean, I talked to Brock Bowers about that after the game too. If y'all watched, we gotta work on that. Like we only have a few rules, and that one picture that we took that you saw everyone using on the internet without our permission, it is legendary. I will say that. But we really got to work. We're going to work on that mustache one of these days. Um, and Brock Bowers agrees with me and said so on the tape. But Todd has done an unbelievable job of Todd has done an unbelievable job of creating a space in the program where Georgia's players are. It sure seems to me like they are unselfish. They are cheerleaders of their teammates, and where he's going to produce, if you want to call it produce, he is going to give the ability for two of his tight ends to go in back-to-back drafts in the top 50. I mean, I'm not smart enough to know if they both are first-round guys, but boy, if they're not top 50 guys, I don't know, because Darnell Washington is trouble. And that's the thing, like against Oregon, Brock Bowers did not have a great game. I guess I'm not I don't maybe that's the wrong way to put it. I know Darnell Washington did. Darnell Washington was out there just really hurting people. Make sure you're picking up DAWGSTRUCTION. We actually have a few images of the tight ends in here. Here's one, if I can flip to it quickly, of Darnell jumping over someone, which has become something he's really good at. There's the picture there. And then we have this one break. Went right to the page. Here's an image of Brock taking off against the Jackets. And if you saw him the other day against South Carolina, it was the same thing. Hey, listen, just real quick, make sure you're picking up DAWGSTRUCTION down below. I no longer have our season preview, but this is a bit of a collector's edition now. You can only get it at Red Zone, which is on Clayton Street. So when you're in Athens this weekend, you need to hit up Red Zone. If you're at the Arches, you walk away from campus towards up College Station, take a left before you kind of go up the hill. Take a left, go past Mrs. Harry's place, and you'll see Red Zone on the left with the flags. It's an awesome place to shop, and I know they've gotten a lot of new stuff in here lately. I know personally. But Kirk Herbstreit's right when he says Georgia's tough to get ready for because of these tight ends. And, for years, Georgia fans would love to complain about the lack of use of the tight ends. And now we're seeing a quarterback use them in a way that probably we've not seen since DJ was getting the ball to Leonard Pope. But Leonard Pope can't run like Brock Bowers. It is striking how fast Bowers can get started. He went from he had to turn around. And that play against South Carolina where he goes the distance is just a shockingly fast turn for him. I'm going to try to get it on the screen here. Oh, there it is. Hello. Look at bro up here on the upper right of the screen or the shot. And then my man here, number 36, who should be able to, run around with Brock. These are DBs. He's leaving them on the ground, y'all. He's leaving them on the ground. It's a great shot there from Ryan Curley from way up top at Williams-Brice. But, Georgia's got a particular advantage. They have a sixth-year quarterback who has tremendous skill set in terms of being able to process information quite quickly and feel pressure if it's there, and distribute the ball quickly to guys who are very good players. I don't know if any of these Georgia players are, so good that if you lost one of them, your season's on the line. But losing Brock Bowers would hurt a lot. Losing Darnell, like they didn't have Darnell for a strong, the first 6-ish games of the season, maybe for first 4, that hurt him too. But this program has got some guys, man. And Bowers, I'm still looking at this image. I just don't know how he goes that fast after kind of, you know, catching the ball, turning, and he explodes. I mean, football is an explosion sport, and his explosion with his legs is something like, Jermaine Wiggins, Larry Brown. They didn't have this sort of stuff. I don't think Randy McMichael had this. That guy does not seem like a tight end, but he is nothing but trouble out there. Number 19 in white.